Hello everyone and welcome back to Terrifying Bedtime Tales. I know many of you use these videos to fall asleep, so before you drift off, I'd love it if you could leave a comment letting me know where you're listening from around the world. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe if you're enjoying this video. Alex adjusted the rearview mirror as the last sign for Eldridge faded behind them, swallowed by the thickening dusk. The town wasn't on most maps, and according to their research, Eldridge was as unremarkable as any small Midwestern town could be, except for its peculiar relationship with celestial events, solar eclipses especially. Driving down the narrow road, Alex's headlights caught glimpses of quaint homes that seemed to sag under the weight of time, their porches decorated with wind chimes that sang softly in the cool breeze. At the center of town, Alex parked their car next to the old town hall, a sturdy brick building that also served as a community center. Stepping out into the cooling air, Alex felt the eyes of the town upon them. Faces peered from behind curtains, and an old man sweeping his front walk gave a curt nod before disappearing into his house. It was clear that newcomers were rare and not particularly welcome. As Alex unpacked their equipment, including cameras, notebooks, and various sensors for the upcoming eclipse, they couldn't shake the feeling of unease that crawled beneath their skin. The sun dipped below the horizon unnaturally fast, as if swallowed by an unseen force, and darkness settled over Eldridge with an unsettling finality. That evening, Alex set up their equipment on a small hill outside of town, the best vantage point for the eclipse. The sunset was unusually swift and left a lingering gloom that seemed palpable. Alex calibrated their instruments, noting the temperature drop and the strange way the light bent around the horizon. Back in town, the locals gathered in small groups, their voices low and hurried. Alex approached, trying to catch snippets of conversation, but the residents fell silent as they drew near. It was then that Mrs. Thompson, the owner of the local bed and breakfast where Alex was staying, tugged at their sleeve. "Best not to pry, dear," she whispered, her eyes darting around nervously. "We respect the night here. You'd do well to do the same." Confused but intrigued, Alex nodded, retreating to their setup. The night sky was unusually clear, and the stars shone with an intensity Alex had never seen before. The oddity of the sunset and Mrs. Thompson's warning nod at them as they recorded their observations. The next morning, Alex attended a hastily arranged town meeting at the hall. The mayor, a robust man named Harold Jensen, stood at the front, his face stern. "Tomorrow night, the eclipse will come, and with it, the passing," he announced. The room was thick with tension, each person's face etched with a mixture of fear and anticipation. Alex raised their hand. "What is the passing? Why does it seem like everyone here is waiting for something more than just an eclipse?" The room turned icy. Mayor Jensen fixed Alex with a hard stare. "You're here to study the eclipse, so study it. Leave our traditions to us." After the meeting, Alex was approached by a teenager, Ellie, who seemed less guarded. "Not everyone believes in the passing, but challenging it's not safe," she said in a hushed tone. "Be careful what you stir up." Ellie's warning, paired with the hostile atmosphere of the meeting, left Alex with more questions than answers. They decided to delve into the town's library archives for any clues about what the passing could be. That night, in the dim light of the library, Alex pored over old newspapers and records. Eldridge had experienced a significant population decline every few decades, coinciding with each eclipse. Each article hinted at a renewal, a rebirth that followed the departures, but details were maddeningly vague. One faded photograph caught Alex's eye, a group of townspeople standing near the church, their faces somber, as they looked towards something unseen and menacingly large covered beneath tarps. A journal tucked away in a forgotten drawer revealed entries from a previous resident, chronicling the days leading up to the eclipse. "The passing is near, and with it, the sacrifice for prosperity. We must endure to flourish." The handwriting shaky and distressed. The historical pattern was unsettling. Alex felt a chill as they realized the town was preparing for something far beyond a simple celestial event. Unable to sleep, Alex returned to their equipment under the starless night. As they adjusted a lens, a whisper of movement caught their eye. Shadows flitted between the trees, circling closer to the town's borders. Alex grabbed a flashlight and followed cautiously. The beam of light cut through the darkness, revealing figures draped in dark cloaks, their faces obscured. As Alex stepped closer, the figures vanished as if made of smoke, leaving behind a cold dread and the faint smell of burning herbs. Rushing back to their car, Alex found a note tucked under the windshield wiper. "Leave before the eclipse, or you'll never leave at all." Shaken, Alex decided it was time to confront the town's secrets. They needed to understand the true nature of the passing before it was too late, not just for their research, but for their very survival. The day of the eclipse dawned overcast, the heavy clouds a foreboding shroud over Eldritch. Alex, undeterred by the note and the shadows from the night before, prepared their equipment. They felt a mix of trepidation and a scientist's curiosity. This phenomenon, this passing, was perhaps a unique psychological event tied to the eclipse, something undocumented in scientific literature. As the sky darkened toward totality, the town grew eerily silent. Streets emptied, as if the very air had been vacuumed away, and a palpable tension hung heavy. Alex positioned themselves on the hill again, the cameras and sensors aimed skyward, ready to capture every anomaly. When the eclipse reached totality, something inexplicable happened. The darkness didn't lift. The stars appeared, brighter and more menacing than ever, and an unnatural chill swept through the air. It was as if the sun had been obliterated from the sky entirely, not merely obscured by the moon. Hours passed with no sign of daylight. The endless night persisted, and Alex's scientific explanations faltered. Returning to town, they found the locals congregating around the old church, their faces somber yet expectant. Drawn by a mix of fear and necessity to understand, Alex approached, only to be stopped by Ellie. "You shouldn't be here," she whispered urgently. "But since you are, watch and learn why we endure." Inside the church, the atmosphere was thick with incense and hushed tones. Candles lit the faces of the crowd, revealing a mix of old and young, their eyes reflecting a fervent glow. Alex observed as the crowd began chanting in a language they couldn't recognize. The words seemed ancient, vibrating with a raw power that resonated through the chilly air. The floor of the church trembled subtly, as if responding to the collective call of the townspeople. From the shadows of the altar, an elder stepped forward, holding a weathered tome. He spoke of a covenant made long ago, a sacrifice to the darkness for the prosperity of Eldritch. Every few decades, the eclipse would take and the town would give. Alex, hidden behind a column, recorded everything, the scientific observer overtaken by the primal fear of the unknown. When the ritual concluded, Alex slipped away, the elder's words haunting their thoughts. Back at the library, they scoured the texts for any mention of the covenant. Deep within a dusty ledger, they found it, a contract of sorts etched in a shaky hand, detailing the town's agreement with an entity known only as the darkness below. The book detailed not only the agreement, but also the consequences of breaking it. Famine, disease, and madness had visited Eldritch centuries ago, when the covenant was nearly broken. The prosperity of the town was indeed tied to this bizarre and terrifying ritual. Determined to understand the full scope of the ritual, Alex followed the townsfolk at a distance as they left the church, moving toward the outskirts where the old cemetery lay. Beneath a gnarled oak tree, the ground was freshly turned. Here, they watched as the elder and 4 others performed a smaller, more intimate ceremony. With each shovel of earth, a piece of an artifact, seemingly a part of a larger, ominous relic, was buried. The elders spoke of sealing the pact, ensuring another few decades of peace and prosperity. Realizing that the ritual was not yet complete, Alex needed to act fast. They approached Ellie, who had been a reluctant participant in the events. Together, they devised a plan to disrupt the final act of the ritual, hoping to free the town from its horrific obligation without unleashing the catastrophic consequences foretold in the ancient book. As night stretched endlessly, they made their way back to the church. The townspeople, drained from the day's events, did not notice as Alex and Ellie quietly removed the buried pieces from under the oak tree, breaking the physical link of the ritual. Confronted by the elder and his followers, Alex and Ellie stood firm. The elder revealed the true depth of their desperation. The entity they served was growing hungrier, demanding more than just the occasional sacrifice. If not appeased, it would consume them all. Amidst the confrontation, the ground began to shake. The air grew cold, and a deep, rumbling voice filled the night. Furious at the disruption, Alex, holding the artifacts, felt a surge of power, a connection to something ancient and indomitable. Ellie, seizing the moment, urged Alex to use the artifacts to negotiate directly with the entity. Speaking words from the ancient book, Alex demanded a new deal, one that would free the town without the need for further sacrifices. The entity, intrigued by Alex's boldness, paused. It considered their offer and finally agreed, but with conditions unknown to them at the moment. The new covenant was set, sealed with the return of the artifacts to the earth, but under new terms dictated by Alex. As the first rays of the sun pierced the horizon, breaking the endless night, the town of Eldridge breathed a collective sigh of relief. The darkness receded, and for the first time in centuries, the future seemed uncertain but free from the immediate dread of the entity. Alex and Ellie, knowing they had altered the town's destiny, decided it was time to leave Eldridge. The consequences of their actions, good or bad, would unfold in time, but Eldridge's bondage to the darkness was over. Driving away from Eldridge, Alex watched as the sun rose fully, bathing the world in light and warmth. They had recordings, notes, and unforgettable experiences to take with them. Eldridge would be a chapter in their life, a story of darkness, courage, and change. As the town faded in the rearview mirror, Alex felt a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. They had faced unimaginable horrors, but had also glimpsed the incredible resilience of the human spirit. The road ahead was long, and their journey was far from over. But for now, the day was new, and anything seemed possible. Since the story was concluded in a previous response, adding more content directly would disrupt the narrative's closure. However, if you want to extend the story or explore new developments post-Eldridge, here's a continuation that could serve as a new phase in Alex's journey. Alex had been on the road for hours, the events in Eldridge replaying in their mind like a surreal dream. The sun was high in the sky now, casting sharp shadows across the dusty dashboard of their car. They had left the town far behind, but the echo of its mysteries lingered, a constant reminder of the dark pact they had altered. Arriving in a bustling city felt alien after the quiet, ominous life in Eldridge. Alex found a small apartment near the university where they decided to analyze their findings. The recordings, the photographs, and the notes all were pieces of a puzzle that might never be fully understood. As they unpacked their equipment, Alex's phone rang. It was Ellie, her voice a mix of relief and unease. It started, "Alex, things are changing. Not just in Eldridge. There's more out there, more towns, more entities." Alex's research took a new turn. They started mapping out locations similar to Eldridge, towns with unexplained phenomena and histories of secrecy. Each point on the map suggested a pattern, a web of dark pacts spread across the country, perhaps even the world. Ellie joined Alex, bringing with her a small team of interested researchers from various fields: history, folklore, environmental science. Together, they formed a group dedicated to uncovering and understanding these ancient bonds. One evening, while reviewing audio recordings from Eldridge, Alex heard something new, a faint voice in the background, not belonging to any of the townspeople. It spoke in the same ancient language used during the rituals. Translating it revealed a chilling message. The network thrives. The roots run deep. This discovery fueled their mission. The team delved into historical records, unearthing evidence of rituals dating back centuries, perhaps millennia, each designed to maintain a balance between human prosperity and the demands of something otherworldly. The research led to a breakthrough when one of the team members, a linguist named Marco, identified a symbol that appeared in multiple locations. This symbol, a complex glyph, served as a marker, a sign of an active pact. Tracking these glyphs became their primary method of locating other Eldritch-like towns. Each discovery added credibility to their theory of a vast, interconnected network of dark pacts. But with credibility came danger. Reports of their work began to attract attention, not all of it friendly. One night, their research lab was broken into and several crucial files were stolen. The message was clear. Not everyone wanted these secrets exposed. Undeterred, the team organized a conference, inviting scholars, skeptics, and the media. Alex presented their findings, showing evidence of the network and its influence. The response was a mix of fascination and horror, with calls for further investigation and, from some corners, demands for silence. The pressure mounted as the team faced both external threats and internal disagreements. Ellie, ever the pragmatist, argued for caution, suggesting they might be meddling with forces beyond their comprehension. Alex, driven by a need to expose the truth, pushed for more aggressive research. Their conflict came to a head when an anonymous tip led them to a small town in Nevada, eerily reminiscent of Eldritch. As they prepared to confront yet another dark entity, the rift between caution and curiosity threatened to tear the team apart. In Nevada, the situation escalated quickly. The town was on the brink of performing its own ritual, one that promised to be more dangerous than anything they had witnessed in Eldritch. Alex, Ellie, and their team had to make a choice: intervene and risk catastrophic consequences, or document and learn, potentially allowing another cycle of horror to continue. As the town's clock tower chimed midnight, the decision was made for them. The ground trembled, and shadows coalesced into forms too terrible to describe. Alex stepped forward, recorder in hand, ready to face whatever came next, while Ellie coordinated their escape route. The story would continue, exploring themes of responsibility, the ethics of interference, and the deep, dark roots of human superstition and sacrifice. Alex's journey would not just be about uncovering the horrors hidden in the dark, but also about understanding the human condition in the face of the inexplicable. As the ominous figures materialized in the Nevada town square, an overwhelming sense of dread washed over Alex and their team. The entity they faced now was different, more potent, more aggressive than the one in Eldritch. The air crackled with a raw, electric energy as the town's clock continued to chime, each strike resonating like a heartbeat through the night. Ellie's voice crackled over the walkie-talkie, her tone urgent. "Alex, we need to go now. The ritual started, and there's no stopping it. We can't help if we're caught in the middle." But Alex was rooted to the spot, camera in hand, determined to document the last moments, whether as a warning to the world or as proof of their findings. The shadows danced wildly around the chanting townspeople, who seemed entranced, lost to whatever promise the darkness had made them. As the final chime echoed, a blinding light erupted from the center of the square. The entity, a melangetic mass of shadows and whispers, surged upwards, its form ever-changing, a living nightmare before their eyes. "Alex, now!" Ellie's voice was almost drowned out by the tumult. Realizing the gravity of their situation, Alex turned to run, sprinting towards the van where the rest of the team was waiting. Behind them, the light intensified, casting long, grotesque shadows that twisted along the ground like living things. They dove into the van just as a shockwave of energy burst from the square, rocking the vehicle. Ellie floored the accelerator, and they sped away, the rearview mirror reflecting the chaos of a town consumed by its pact with the dark. Silence fell as they left the town behind, the only sounds the heavy breaths of the team and the distant rumble of unrest. As dawn approached, the sky turned a pale, washed-out blue, the night's horrors receding like a fever dream. Alex looked around at the exhausted faces of their team, each marked by a night of terror, but alive with the fire of survival. "We did what we could," Alex said softly, meeting Ellie's eyes in the rearview mirror. "Now we tell the world. We make sure they know, so no one else has to face what we did." Ellie nodded, her expression grim but determined. "We document everything. We show them the cost of ignorance, the danger of forgotten pacts. We keep going." The van drove on as the first rays of sunlight pierced through the clouds, casting light on a path fraught with challenges, but also lined with hope. They had witnessed the unthinkable, confronted the abyss, and emerged not unscathed, but undefeated. As the credits of this chapter of their lives began to roll, Alex turned on their laptop, beginning the arduous task of compiling their evidence. The road ahead was uncertain, fraught with peril and doubt, but driven by an unyielding quest for truth and light. In the face of darkness, they would be the bearers of the dawn.